So a few years ago, a good friend of mine, Abe Edlebakar, who is the founder of Redmorph, called me up and he said, Jebb, my kids want Facebook. And I said, well, I don't have a Facebook account, so I can't help you. My mother has it. My wife uses it. My brothers, they use it. They share photos. I think it's probably okay. But Abe comes from, he comes from the technology sector. He basically helped build the internet when he was leading a lab at Bell Laboratories many years ago. And so he wasn't satisfied with that. He wanted to know what was really going on in the background behind Facebook and really what is going on in general in the internet. Yeah. So the first thing he did was he basically started finding out who was back there. You know, what companies are in the back of the internet that are sort of helping things work out, yeah? And so to help me and people like me visualize it, the first thing he did was he built Spiderweb, which is basically a chart so that we can see what's going on, yeah? What we found, or what he's found so far, is there's over 4,000 tracking companies out there. Over 4,000 companies that add no value to any of the users of the internet. They create no additional value at all, but they track you and they trade you to other people, yeah, to other organizations, basically. For the most part, the larger companies sell your data to larger ad networks. Those ad networks then basically sell you off in different ways. And the big guys have way more ad spots than they could ever sell retail, so they do a lot of the sales in wholesale, yeah? And a lot of this is done sort of through large conferences. And so what happens is, let's say a large broker that's bought a bunch of Google spots sits down and they say, right, I've got 1 billion ads for the year, or 1 billion ad spots. I'll give you $1 million for $100,000, or I'll give you $3 million for $200,000. Yeah. And of course, most companies will then choose whatever package they can afford, because they also know that they can sell those same ad spots to companies that can't afford to buy that many ads. Or they can trade them and get spots on other people's networks. Yeah? So it's valuable. These conferences last 5 days. Has anybody ever been to ACC here in the Philippines, the Asian Carriers Conference? Fantastic event, my favorite event of the year. And it taught me a lot about what goes on in the background. That's not an ad spot one. It's mobile wholesale. Sorry, it's a wholesale for telcos. But the ads networks work the same way. They have 5 days to do bilateral meetings. They get 20 minutes per meeting to set and make an arrangement, a deal. They write everything down feverishly on a piece of paper or a scrapbook, exchange a business card, agree set of terms, and then they go back, and a week later you get an email confirmation order. By the 5th day, you can imagine how many of these deals you've done, how many meetings you've sat in. You're tired. You just want your day to end. You want to get rid of whatever inventory you have left. And this is when the dark side of the web comes in. These are the guys that you don't ask too many questions from. You just want to get rid of your stock, and they're offering cash, so they'll, you take it. You take it. In doing the research for this, I came across this term, and I've come across it a number of times. It's surveillance capitalism, right? Surveillance capitalism, according to Wikipedia, is a new genre of capitalism that monetizes data acquired through surveillance. And they define surveillance as the monitoring of behavior, activities, or other changing information for the purpose of influencing, managing, or directing people. And capitalism has 4 key pillars. They include capital accumulation, voluntary exchange, a pricing mechanism, and competitive markets, yeah? No, wait. Back to Abe and his kids. Facebook. You've probably guessed, right? After doing all this research, the definitive answer was pretty straightforward, right? No, not going to happen. No Facebook for the kids. Let's go back to a more secure time. You see, you probably notice I'm a little older than a lot of the guys in the FinTech world. I come from a more secure time. We played in the field. Our parks actually didn't have fences and cameras to watch us. We played in the street, We weren't expected home until food was on the table and getting cold. Yeah? We kept our precious moments in photo albums. We kept our important documents locked in boxes inside a bank vault. Yeah? We had one credit card, maybe two. It was plastic, and we kept it in a leather wallet. Yeah? How times have changed. Back to surveillance. Yeah, we're going to keep coming back to surveillance. Surveillance, the monitoring of behavior, activities, or other changing information for the purpose of influencing and managing or directing people. What does that sound like to you guys? There's a term that's very popular now. It's called social engineering or manipulation. Yeah, that's basically surveillance. And the other term was, it's used by, again, this is Wikipedia talking, yeah? Used by governments to protect people and property. It's used by businesses to induce customer loyalty and increase wallet share. Very noble. But it's also used by criminal organizations, yeah, to plan and commit crimes. The characteristics of capitalism include, 1, voluntary exchange. I give you something, you give me something, we have an equitable exchange, we both feel comfortable with it. That is a voluntary exchange. In the digital world, we don't have that. We have an EULA, right? End User License Agreement. How many people have read one of those? How many people have actually understood what it said? Competitive markets, no doubt about it. Yeah, hugely competitive markets, thousands of data brokers and ad networks. A pricing system, supply and demand, the oldest in the world, right? The more you have, theoretically at least, the lower the price gets. And capital accumulation, which is the user ID. If the user ID is the capital that they're accumulating, what are they buying? What's the product? Daddy, 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 I need a cell phone. Abe called me up. My kids want a cell phone. I said, this is going to be harder, Abe. Do you have a cell phone? Yeah, I have a cell phone. Does your wife have a cell phone? Yeah, she has a cell phone. Does the driver have a cell phone? Yep, he has a cell phone. Problem with cell phones is they are incredibly helpful. They do a lot of jobs for us. We use them for work. We use them for travel. We use them for socializing, for searching, for banking, for playing games, killing time, watching videos. Whoops. Educational videos. Getting point A to point B, shopping, finding love, yeah? Lots of different things. The problem is, well, first of all, those apps. Those apps are granted a lot of permissions that they don't actually need. Those permissions are shared with all of their partners, which means that those partners have access to a lot of hardware, GPS, your contacts, a lot of things that they don't actually have any reason for having. And because of that, you end up with a loss of control, which leads to a loss of privacy, and finally to security issues. There are a lot of known business models that we all understand. I want to go from Manila to Jakarta. I can go on AirAsia, or I can go on Cebu Pacific. I use an app. I can book a flight. I know their business model. They're trying to sell me a seat. Once I buy it, they want to upgrade my seat to a more expensive seat. They want to sell me luggage. They want to sell me a meal on flight. I get it, right? That's their business model. It makes sense. They may step outside and try and sell me some travel insurance or maybe a hotel on the other end. But again, I understand this. Uber, Grab, they have the same mission in mind, right? Get me from point A to point B. There's a market there. There's competitiveness in it. There's two providers. It's simple. We understand their their business model. Lazada, like Amazon, they don't make a lot of money from the first sale. They make their money not from that, but from the upsell, cross-sell, and shipping. Yeah. Banks, they want you to go from offline to online, lower cost to serve. But also they want you to start using digital because then they've got a credit record, then they can move you from checking and to credit cards, which have a much higher profit margin, right? Again, we understand this. It's the unknown unknowns that we don't know, right? That are really bothering us, right? Or that bothering Redmorph. These apps are traditionally free. They serve no other purpose, really, other than to gather data. They typically follow some sort of a hype cycle. So you may start off right now looking, there's going to be lots of Bitcoin type applications out there. Prior to that, they were tools for doing your flashlight or your battery saver, your memory keeper, or one of these things, yeah? Some of them appeal or tug at nationalistic heartstrings. Yeah, you've got their Philippine flag, tongits. Some of them use sex to sell. Well, it's the #1 sales thing in the world. Some of them use apps that look like somebody else's app. So those two up in the corner, if you type in Cebu Pacific, you get those two apps that have nothing to do with Cebu Pacific, yeah? But all of these guys are having a problem, and that is that the cost of metadata is dropping because there's so many sources of metadata today. And because of that, they're willing to sell that metadata to, well, companies outside of the box, let's say. Let's say you're Liechtenstein and you want to know what's going on next door. Well, you could send spies over. Or you could say, I want to know all of the people that regularly go to the parliament 5 days a week, 4 days a week, let's say. And I want to know, of those people, how many of them love casinos. Yeah? Because if you love casinos, chances are you're losing more money than you're making, and that makes it a perfect target for somebody, right? You're a criminal organization. You say, that's my subdivision. I own Sanlo. Everybody knows it's mine, so I'm going to buy the data for Sanlo. I want to know what users leave their home at what time, or when they're going to be more than 50 miles away. Well, that's 4 hours of traffic, right? So, yes, there's an app for that, guys. You're being tracked. You're being trolled all the time. Again, back to surveillance. Surveillance and organized crime. The monitoring of behavior, activities, or other changing information for the purpose of influencing, managing, and/or directing people. Social engineering, it's used by criminal organizations to plan and commit crimes. Phishing, spear phishing, use social engineering techniques to deceive and exploit web security weaknesses. And there's so much data on the dark web, you have no idea. People think that the prices should be falling like mad, but they're not. And here's the funny thing: the criminal guys are using a lot of the same techniques that you guys use, right? They're on the web now. I mean, not just the web, they're in the cloud, right? So there's something called CAS. Anybody know what CAS is? CAS? Want to make a guess, somebody? Criminalware as a service. Yes, you can now outsource your crime. Yeah? I love this quote. I think this is the best quote in the entire deck. I don't know if you've noticed the quotes on top. But anyway, I'm going to call this one out. The premier destination for carding in fraud. Does anybody know who InFraud is? Just recently, they were brought up in charges in America. Almost 11,000 member accounts around the world. They specialized in carding, overlays, phishing, botnets, cryptojacking, ransomware, DDoS attacks as a service. They had a hierarchy, a governing council, subject matter experts over products and services, of course, buyers and sellers. And they had a code of conduct. So if you bought something and it didn't deliver against your expectations, you could go to the subject matter expert and say, you need to judiciate this because it doesn't seem fair. They told me this and I didn't get that. In other words, guess what? There's honor among thieves. It does exist, guys. Huh? All that data, you'd think it's falling like a stone. Some of it is, right? So if you just have metadata, it's falling. No question about it. But once you can pull that metadata together and sell it as a package, the prices have gone up a bit. Not huge, right? So in 2010, a single credit card sold for between $1.50 and $3. Now it's 50 cents to $30. The difference is more data about the card, right? They now know the difference between a really good card with no credit, with a lot of credit on it versus, a really good card with no credit on it, no available balance, right? Credit card prices have pretty much stayed relatively the same, yeah? But look at the other one, yeah? That one down there in malware, yeah? As a service. $2,000 to now $100 to run a service for you to gather data for you, banking data. Now you think to yourself, oh shit, why? Why has it gone down? Why has it gone down that much? Well, first of all, economies of scale. Yeah, they went on to the cloud. And the second thing is they've all realized that the difficult part is not so much getting the difficult part is not so much getting the money out so much anymore, but really the difference is that they've begun to realize that if they all work together, the more data they have, the more money they all make. Yeah? So prices are falling in that regard. It's a growing problem. It's a growing problem for all of you. So why is it important to you? You guys don't deal in the dark web, I'm sure. Right? Well, Android globally is 85% of the smartphone market. Here in the developing world, it's closer to 97, 98%, depending on the market. And that basically means you guys need an Android solution. If you want to be competitive in the mobile world, you have to have an Android solution. And the other thing is it has to be secure, because it's becoming incredibly popular with the criminal element as well. 2014, 13, not incidents, what were they? Where'd my guy go? He's gone. 13 actual exploits were identified. Yeah. Last year, 841. Doesn't this look like a cryptocurrency, evaluation type thing? I mean, you look at that. It's crazy. And you all know what they go after, right? They go after digital wallets. Right now, they're going mostly after cryptocurrency wallets because, well, there's a hell of a lot of money there, right? You get one of those wallets, it's worth millions of dollars potentially. But from our work in India, we're finding that they're going after banking wallets. They're going after rewards or awards accounts for airlines. They're going after shopping accounts. They're going after, you name it. They're going after it all, yeah? So it's only a matter of time. Close to 1 million app publishers on the Google Play Store. 3.5 million apps after they threw off 700,000 apps last year. Do you think those apps are gone for good? They're just off the Google App Store. There are now app stores everywhere. Go online and say, I don't want to download this from Google. I want to download it from my OEM. So Vivo has a store, Samsung has a store, you name it. They have stores. There were additional side stores. So plenty of other places that they've been able to relocate to. Yeah? And this is something my kid showed me, which I thought was brilliant. Yeah? You can buy an app on the Google Play Store, perfectly safe, and then transfer it from that device to another device without paying for it. I said, that's brilliant. I told Abe about it. I said, Abe, have you seen this thing? He said, yeah. He says, it's the best exploit there is. You download it on one device, it's perfectly fine. You ship it to somebody else's device, and in the middle, an SDK is inserted into the app, which basically spies on you, steals your money, creates an overlay, lots of different things, yeah? Okay, why does it really matter to you? Well, the main reason it matters to you is because just like in the real world, in the digital world, the customer is always right. Yeah? You can't go to them and say, it's your fault, you shouldn't have clicked on that. We're not going to do anything about it. Because if you do, there's problems, right? 62% of customers believe that it's always the customer's fault. The company's fault. It's your app. You built it. You need to secure it. It's your fault if I get busted, if I lose my money. Yeah? And if you don't do anything about it, well, 70% of the customers leave. And in the digital world, guess what they do next? They tell everybody, right? That's when Facebook comes into its own. Yeah, big problems. So, Redmorph, what are we doing about it? Redmorph was founded in 2014. Our vision, with the basic goal of addressing the problem on the internet, right? The privacy and security across it. But our vision has morphed like everybody in the digital worlds, right? Which changes over time. Now, what we're working on is to create an environment where your digital id, ego self, is as secure as your real world self. Yeah, we do it by identifying and preventing cyber activity that can harm you and your organization, and we use all of the same tools that the bad guys use. Yeah, we use artificial intelligence, we use algorithms, we use trackers and what have you, to basically keep track of the trackers. Yeah. Right now, the spotlight is on all of you. Yeah? If you have apps on your phone, they're watching you. In fact, if you have a phone at all, the hardware guy is watching you. So if it's a Samsung, Samsung's watching you. If it's Vivo, Vivo's watching you. The OS, Google, Android, it's watching you. Your ISP and MSP, they're watching you. All of your apps, every website you go to. Every one of them tracks you, prods you, gathers a little bit of data about you, some metadata. That metadata is assembled through big data and then analyzed and distributed to the ad networks. And of course, all the while, you're under attack from organized crime and don't even know it necessarily. And what we're doing is we're turning the tides, yeah? So we're watching all those guys. Basically, we are building the world's largest tracking database to find out what it is they're after. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? How are they doing it? Where is it coming from? Where is it going to? So our goal is basically to make sure that when you think of phishing, you think of it as a kid's activity, right? Something your kids can do. Phishing, not pishing. Okay? PH. And spear phishing, we think that spear phishing should be something you do with a buddy. Thank you. Oh, today, free. If you have a Android phone, please download our app. This is our B2C app. We also have specific apps for digital wallets, which is in SDK format, which you can integrate into your app. But there it is today and today only. Yeah. Thanks very much.